Congress leader Sachin says India should target 9 to 10% GDP growth rate and not 6 to 7%. Speaking to me earlier today, Pilot said that the opposition alliance will not tinker with the fundamentals of the economy if voted to power. I began by asking him about his take on the election so far and what he expects on results day.
I think this election from the first phase onwards has been giving a very clear indication that this is not a wave election. But it's certainly an election for a change. I sense that palpable mood in the voters across the country. And I say this because the speeches of the BJP leaders have changed from when the election started. The kind of self-assured speeches we heard now have moved down to the rhetorical, the divisive sort of language being used. It shows that they are on a back foot. And I think the Congress party candidates and the India Alliance candidates have actually surged ahead in successive rounds. So I'm quite confident that the results, when they come out on June 4th, will be a positive one for the India Alliance.
Right. I would also like to ask you about the NDA's campaign. And do you feel that somewhere the Congress has not been able to make clarifications about its manifesto? Because here you have the NDA, the Prime Minister, saying that Congress once wanted to allocate 15% of the budget to Muslims. They have been speaking about how you will take away the wealth of the people and redistribute it among the minorities. Do you feel that somewhere you've not been able to overcome this rhetoric, this campaign pitch of the Prime Minister?
Exactly what you said. It's rhetoric. There is no ounce of truth in what is being said. And you will agree with me that the Congress manifesto has become the talk of the town. One does not know what the BJP manifesto says. No one cares about it because it's all about self, appreciation, with no tangible data, no report card, no 10-year governance results, no output, no assurances being fulfilled. And it's very sad to see that very important people holding important positions are talking the language which is unbecoming, talking about Muslims and Hindus and Mangal Suits and taking wealth away and stealing and giving to other people. It is absolutely outlandish to make those statements. Our manifesto is in black and white. All we've said is that we want to make sure that the poorest amongst us get some financial incentives, 1 lakh rupees a year for the poorest families in this country. We've said that farmers should have a assured procurement and there should be a legislative framework for that. That's a guarantee that we've given. And the Narega payments per day, instead of being 200 rupees, should be 400 because the inflation is sky high. We're talking about young people, farmers, creating wealth for everybody in the country, not for a limited few. But to talk about religion, there is no mention of the word reservation on basis of religion. It is not there in the constitution. It can't be done. But to keep saying what is not in our constitution, in our manifesto, tells you that the BJP is not talking about what its own performance has been and what the roadmap for the next 5 years can be for them. Instead, they are creating this sort of negative atmosphere with no truth and no basis of saying so whatsoever. In fact, this manifesto has been printed in Hindi and English. Anybody can go and read it. But I think this rhetorical speech they're saying is just basically what happens is when the BJP is on a back foot, their last resort is to talk about religion. Mandir, masjid, Hindu, Muslim. Talk about investments, growth, job creation, wealth distribution amongst the poorest amongst us. We have the highest recorded unemployment in this country today. And my biggest worry is that the gap between rich and poor has become so much. The Gini coefficient is actually an alarming situation for us. Should we not care about the 120 crore people who have been left behind? I mean, we should grow as one entity and not have this huge gap. Why should a few people, 5-10% people, have this phenomenal growth and the poor get even further poor?
Okay, the question that I'd like to ask you now, there is a bit of uncertainty in the stock markets right now with the election outcome and what could it possibly be, and maybe it's driven by the low voter turnout in the initial phases. What everyone is looking at, will there be policy continuity? Right now everyone says that yes, India is the alternative to China, but those capital flows are not coming to India right now because we need some more reforms in terms of unification of laws, bringing all the states on one page in terms of implementation, speedier opening and closing of businesses. In case the opposition is elected, to what extent do you feel the NDA's work should be changed or there should be policy continuity to make sure that the momentum we have growth as an economy around the world continues?
Listen, let me tell you, the Congress governments, whenever we've had a chance to serve the people of this country, have had an impeccable record of having a very smooth and a stable economic policy making. If you go back to the 90s, it was the Congress government that actually liberalized our economy, and today where we are, a large credit should go to Dr. Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao. Continuity is something that has been the hallmark of our country and our economy. But I think there are a lot of missed opportunities. You know, when COVID happened and there was a sentiment against China and its policies, India should really have been there, and our economic policy should have been such that we should have taken space of that vacuum that created. Instead, we saw some other Asian countries jump in, whether it's Philippines, Taiwan, other South Asian countries. We missed that boat, I think. The capital outflows out of China, the natural alternate destination should have been India. I think we missed that boat, even though we talked about it. What worries me is that when we lost power in 2014, the national debt was about 50 lakh crores. Today, it's 250 lakh crores. It's increased 5 times in 10 years. That's again a worrisome situation. Of course, the fundamentals have to be key to our economy. There is no question of, tinkering with those. There's no view on that at all. But in fact, I think the trajectory of the economy should be that our potential should be a 9-10% growth, not 6 to 7 that we've been able to achieve. So markets, I think, are very mature in this country, and they take into consideration all the possible political outcomes. But the Congress governments or the UPA governments have always fostered growth, equitable growth, even though we had policies like Narega and food subsidies, but we still had policies in place to get and attract investments like never before. FDI, the BJP actually opposed the FDI in retail and in defense, and now they've gone back on and welcomed it. They opposed the India-US nuclear deal. They went back and now they've supported it. They opposed the direct benefit transfer schemes when they were in opposition. Now the BJP is supporting it. So GST, they opposed the GST. In fact, they've reversed most of their political economic views while in opposition and while in government. And the Congress has been steadfast in what we say, and I think no matter what happens, the potential of our country should be harnessed to the maximum.
Right. So you would say that whoever is elected, the focus should be on making sure we have the right environment to attract the funds which are not going to China or which people do not want to deploy in China.
Absolutely. I think there is a growing sentiment globally that India's economic potential, needs to be further fueled. We must have policy making, and you see, the markets and the global sentiment really relies upon the domestic policy framework. So a stable policy framework, erratic changes always disturb markets, and I think it's never been the intention of any UPA or Congress government to damage the sentiments of the markets. But markets don't dictate what is fundamentally important for us. So we believe that helping out the poorest amongst us is very important for us. A program like a midday meal program or Narega program or subsidies to the poor or farmers' loans being taken care of. Those issues we've committed, we will stand by it. But we will make sure that we have the right inputs and the policies are made in such a way that India is able to punch above its weight in terms of economic achievements.
If I were to ask you about the Hindi heartland, because you were handling states like Chhattisgarh, I'll come to Delhi in just a bit, but let's begin with Rajasthan. The result of the last assembly election where the BJP won, how is it going to impact, or how did it impact the campaign, so to say? How hopeful are you about the party doing well in Rajasthan?
Because last election,
it was a clean sweep in the Lok Sabha.
I mean, you're right, we did lose the last parliament election, but the assembly election held in December last year, the vote share difference between BJP Congress was under 2%, 1.5%, and we had 71 MLAs in the House of 200. But this parliament election, I've seen a real palpable change in the mood, the response, our candidates are better, our campaign was better despite being in opposition. So, and I say this with all humility that out of 25 seats in Rajasthan, Congress and our allies, we should get more seats in the BJP. And I say this for Chhattisgarh also. These are again states where there's a bipolar contest between BJP and Congress. But there are certain local factors. There's a fatigue factor of 10 years, same members of parliament, same BJP, same double engine, same rhetoric, same bhashan, same assurances, and delivery's been quite scanty. If you look at anything, I mean, whether it's doubling farmers' income, whether it's getting rid of black money, removing corruption, all those things I think have now come to the fore. And people may not voice their opinions as openly as they should, but they're very wise. Our voters are very clear about what they think is right for this country, and they are voting for a change. Now to go back and rely on mandir and masjid and Hindu and Muslim in India and Pakistan shows that in 10 years you've not been able to do half of what you've claimed in terms of elevating poverty, in terms of creating jobs, in terms of getting infrastructure development. So India as an economy, Parishad, will grow at certain pace, no matter who's in government. Ideas, can you as government create that little catalyst where you're able to grow beyond what people expect you to grow? And that hasn't happened.
How many seats would you, from the party's own assessment, from the Congress's own assessment, how many seats would you give the Congress in this Lok Sabha elections, and how many would you give to the India Alliance altogether?
This number predicting game is best played by the BJP. We don't do all of that. All I say is that 272 is the magic number that one requires in Parliament to form a government. And India Alliance and the Congress Party will get that number on 4th of June. The BJP can say 300 par, 400 par, 500 par, but realities are different. And you see that sentiment across the country. Of course, there are certain perceptions made by the media, social media, boardings, banners, speeches, etc. But people are wise. I think 10 years is a long time. And after 10 years, you are still asking for 5 more years and saying, 2047 is what they're talking about now. So you stop the recruitment in the army and give young people, Agniveers, a 4-year term. And for yourself, you want 10 plus 5, 15 years. That's not something that people are very happy with.
The Agniveer issue has been raised in different corners of the country. The question that now I would also like to ask you, we have been reading reports in the regional media how you were actually a little upset with the party leadership in the state of Rajasthan, also with Ashok Gehlot, for not calling you to certain constituencies to campaign. Do you feel hurt somehow, or do you feel that certain differences have impacted the campaign on the ground?
Not at all, not at all. I think they're all media-created issues. I have campaigned in about 12 states so far, and more than, I think...
I'm speaking of Rajasthan.
Rajasthan, I have done at least 17, 18 parliamentary seats out of 25. So, not everybody can go to every constituency. It's not possible. But I have done the maximum that I could. And everywhere any candidate called me, I tried my best to get there. Idea is not about one leader or second leader. Ideas as a team, as a party, how much we can get. And today the imperative question is, should the Congress not do its best in Rajasthan? And everyone, including myself and other leaders, have put in their best efforts, and we should win maximum seats in Rajasthan. Because I come from that state, it's primarily my responsibility to make sure that the party does well as whether I've campaigned in Kerala, Andhra, Chhattisgarh, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, wherever. So we've all campaigned together, and we've given it our best efforts.
Right. Differences between you and Mr. Gehlot that are often spoken about in the media, they've sometimes come out also in public domain. Is that in the past now?
Whatever I had to suggest or give my inputs, I've given to the leadership of the party, and I'm very glad that some of the inputs that I gave were taken on by the leadership of Delhi, in AICC in Delhi, and we worked upon them. And that is why today, unlike last times when we used to fight elections in a house of 200, Congress party was reduced to 20 seats or 50 seats. This time we are 72. So we've done much better than previous times, even though we failed to make a government, which was our intention. We all worked hard to repeat our government, but 30 years se ho nahi raha hai. We form the government and we lose badly. But this time, I think there was some course correction, and we were able to get 70 odd seats, which is not a bad performance, even though we are short of the halfway mark.
Any amends that you hope will be made in the working of the Congress party? The reason why I ask is that 3 or 4 leaders in the Congress who used to be always seen with you, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Milind Deora, RP and Singh, they've left the party because they somehow did not feel they were getting their due, and they've joined the BJP, they joined the Sena. So what would be your recommendation or hope from the party in terms of changes?
Because elections is such a time when people come and go. You took a few names. Others have also left who are much senior to them, whether it's Ghulam Nabi Azad, Captain Amrinder Singh, Ashok Chavan, so on and so forth. So people choose the ideology and the political path. Sometimes there's compulsion, sometimes there's pressure, sometimes there's just better offers. It's for those individuals to take a call. It's not for me to say. But I know what I believe in, I know what I'm fighting for, and I'm there to fight the good fight. Future mein kya hoga, I don't know. But right now, there's a task at hand. There's a job that I've been given, and I'm now focusing just on doing that. And I think People of India are looking for a change, and the Congress party is perhaps the only political party that has a pan-India presence to take on and defeat the BJP.
Speaking about elections in Delhi, the release of Arvind Kejriwal, how do you think this is going to help the opposition? It seems that the Aam Aadmi Party has got a lot of momentum back in its campaign with the release of Arvind Kejriwal.
I just think that
On bail, on interim bail.
whatever it is, I just believe it's never happened that two elected chief ministers have been detained by the police and by the agencies. That's not happened, and right in the middle of elections, it tells you that there is a vendetta, there is a heartburn, and there is a a pushback from the government because politically they're not able to take on the challenge of the India alliance. They tried everything to break the India alliance. A few people have succumbed, but 24 political parties are fighting this election together, and we have an alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. And I think in all 7 seats in Delhi, we are very comfortably placed. Of course, it's a tough election because this is right under the nose of the government of India. So they're leaving no stone unturned in terms of resources and muscle that they have. But we are having a very good contest here, and I think that all 7 seats we should be able to pull through with the India alliance.